Christmas is supposed to be safe and controlled, but every once in a while, the simulation just breaks. A writer pushes a joke too far, an animator draws something they shouldn't, or a network executive realizes they've accidentally okayed a total nightmare. Today, we are deep diving into the mess of banned holiday animation. We're talking about episodes that legally cannot be shown in certain countries, and character designs that caused real international problems. This isn't just a nostalgia trip. It's a crime scene investigation, and let's be real, you've probably repressed the memory of some of these, so let's bring them back to the surface. The Holiday Ban Iceberg. Let's begin our descent at level 1 with the mistakes that happened in plain sight. The episodes that tested the law and public decency, but are still technically out there if you know where to look. We have to talk about South Park and the incident of Christmas snow. On the surface, this looks like a standard joke about holiday stress, but if we look at the events of season 23 closely, we aren't watching a comedy. We're watching a mass chemical crisis caused by a holiday legend. The plot revolves around Santa Claus becoming enraged, a common theme on this list, because the citizens can't drive safely. His solution isn't teaching them or building better roads, it is banning alcohol. This leads to a total collapse of the town. Enter Randy Marsh. In what can only be described as a major crime, Randy introduces a special holiday snow. This isn't snow at all. It is a white, powdery, illegal substance that is banned in almost every country on Earth. The episode doesn't just mention the stuff, it features a montage that acts like a wild, colorful commercial for it, where the visual style shifts into a fever dream of chemical joy. In the United States, this is protected as a parody, but internationally, the hammer came down hard. The Russian government, known for being strict about drugs, viewed this not as a joke but as breaking federal law, so the episode was effectively wiped from TV. In places like India and Italy, streaming services often skip this episode entirely to avoid legal trouble. We have to ask ourselves, is this just a joke, or is it a disturbing comment on how we need chemicals to get through the most wonderful time of the year? The episode suggests that the holiday spirit is fake, a manufactured high. But let's look closer at the hero of the story. Santa Claus himself eventually uses the substance, showing the symbol of childhood innocence doing hard drugs. This is a deliberate insult to the icon, designed to shatter the idea of him being a moral authority. It is gaslighting the audience, telling them that even the judge of naughty and nice gives in to vice. The charges here would be huge. Count 1, selling illegal substances. Count 2, public intoxication. Count 3, corrupting the audience. While South Park thrives on this kind of drama, Christmas Snow represents a specific kind of danger by making the forbidden seem normal, pushing the window of what is okay until it breaks. However, South Park is meant for adults, so the shock is expected. But what happens when this level of intensity is applied to a show that is supposed to be for families? What happens when the violence isn't a joke, but a calculated military-style attack on the holidays? To understand that, we have to go down to level 2, where a robot didn't just ruin Christmas, he tried to execute it. Level 2, the Twilight Zone. We are now sinking to level 2 where the water is getting colder, and we find the episodes that didn't just offend a government, they terrified the people who made them. We need to examine the case of Futurama and the burying of A Tale of Two Santas. This episode was made for the 2001 holiday season, finished, edited, and ready for release. But then the executives at Fox watched the final tape, and their reaction wasn't laughter. It was genuine panic. The episode features Robot Santa, a regular bad guy, but in this specific story, his actions cross the line from cartoon villain to active shooter. Let's look at Robot Santa's behavior in this episode. Due to a programming error, his standards for nice are set impossibly high, meaning everyone is judged as naughty. His response is not to hold back gifts, but to use deadly force. He moves through the city with military weapons, rocket launchers, and machine guns, destroying the town. This is not holiday mischief, it is a rampage, basically domestic terrorism wrapped in tinsel. The executives looked at the 7 p.m. time slot, family hour, and realized they were about to broadcast a massacre. The image of elves working in forced labor camps and the heroes facing a literal firing squad was seen as too brutal for kids. Fox committed a preemptive ban and pulled the episode from the schedule. Imagine how the writers felt creating a piece of art that was effectively locked up for being too dangerous. The episode sat in a vault for an entire year, becoming a lost episode before it even aired. When it finally premiered in December 2002, it was pushed to a 9:30 p.m. slot, a graveyard shift for cartoons because the network was trying to bury the evidence. And let's be real, the executives were right to be afraid. The episode features Bender, the show's anti-hero, being put on trial and sentenced to death. The method of execution? Being magnetized and scrapped. It is a grim industrial end where the humor is layered over a foundation of genuine dread. The charges against this episode by the network were excessive violence, dark themes, risk of losing advertisers. But there is a deeper layer here because the ban highlights how fragile the Christmas special format really is. We demand these specials be heartwarming, but Futurama tried to show us the extreme version of the Santa myth, an all-seeing, all-judging creature with the power to punish, which is a terrifying concept. By rejecting the episode, the network was rejecting the mirror it held up to the holiday's judgmental nature. The only way to ensure your own safety from Robot Santa's judgment is, of course, to hit that subscribe button, since it's the only proven way to get on the nice list. But while Futurama was banned for violence, our next entry was erased for something much darker. We're moving from physical danger to visual trauma, to a creature design that history tried to delete. Because at level 3, the problem isn't what the character did, it's what the character was. Level 3, the Deep. We are now at level 3 where the light from the surface is gone, entering the world of the Mandela effect and erased history. We are opening the file on Pokemon and the incident of holiday hijinks. For a generation of children, this episode is a ghost, a fever dream. Millions of kids in the United States saw it air exactly once on December 11th, 1999, and then it vanished. If you bought the DVDs later, it wasn't there. And if you looked for reruns, the slot was skipped. Why? Because of Jinx. Let's look at the design of this Pokemon with a clear eye. In its original form, Jinx had jet black skin, exaggerated facial features, and large, rolling eyes. To the Japanese animators, this was likely a reference to old folklore or fashion trends, but when brought to the West, the image triggered an instant feeling of something else. Blackface. The design looked exactly like the racist drawings used in American theater to hurt and mock African Americans in the past. Cultural critics identified this visual clash immediately, describing the character as a damaging stereotype. The charges here are severe. Unintended hate speech, cultural insensitivity, visual trauma. Nintendo and 4Kids Entertainment didn't just censor the episode, they performed a total wipe, trying to erase it from history. They attempted to purge the episode from the timeline. This creates a fascinating psychological moment for the viewer because you have a Christmas special, usually a source of comfort, becoming a source of forbidden knowledge. The story involves Ash and friends helping Santa Claus, who strangely exists in the Pokemon universe, recover the Jinx, but the sheer existence of the Jinx ruins the story. Every frame the creature is in becomes cursed footage. The backlash here was so severe that it didn't just eliminate the episode. It forced a genetic rewrite of the franchise. In later games and anime appearances, Jinx's skin color was chemically altered to purple, changing the species' biology to escape the allegations. But the holiday hijinks tape remains the smoking gun, a relic of a time before global awareness when a cultural mistake could result in a nightmare. And let's be real, the visual is genuinely unsettling. Seeing Santa Claus interacting with a creature that looks like such a painful part of history creates a weird feeling that is hard to shake, like watching a bootleg you weren't supposed to see. If you think an accidental racist drawing is the peak of disturbing holiday content, you are mistaken. We haven't even touched the level 4 entries. These aren't mistakes, these are productions that were intentionally made to be horrifying, yet marketed to children. We're about to enter the era of traumamation. Level 4, The Abyss. Welcome to Level 4, The Abyss. Here, we find the specials that time forgot, and for good reason. These are the 1970s and 80s stop-motion cartoons that feel less like entertainment and more like psychological warfare on the youth. Modern censorship protects kids from violence, but back in the Wild West of 20th century TV, there was no protection against emotional damage. Exhibit A, Nestor, the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey. On paper, this is a heartwarming story, but in practice, it is 20 minutes of pure sadness. The story follows Nestor, who is bullied and beaten because of his ears, but the main event isn't a minor setback, it is a death. In a scene that can only be described as pure cruelty, Nestor's mother uses her own body to shield him from a blizzard and freezes to death. The camera lingers on her body, and the next morning, Nestor wakes up to the frozen, lifeless form of his only protector. This isn't Bambi where it happened off screen. This was a direct visual confrontation with death and abandonment broadcast to children eating cereal. It is a level of cruelty rarely seen in animation aimed at younger audiences. The charges against this special? Causing emotional distress and child endangerment. Then we have The Leprechaun's Christmas Gold. This special feels like a bad hallucination featuring banshees, spears of death, shrieking and crying tears of gold. The villain, Mag the Hag, is a shapeshifter who needs the gold to survive, creating a suffocating tone. It lacks the jolly atmosphere and replaces it with a sense of doom. These specials are effectively soft banned and you won't see them on TV anymore because they have been quarantined. Why? Because the modern agreement is that they are too depressing. They represent a crack in the timeline where holiday entertainment meant preparing children for the harsh reality of a cold and different world. And let's be real, the stop-motion animation style itself adds to the horror. The jerky movements and the dead eyes of the puppets land squarely in the uncanny valley, triggering a fight-or-flight response. Is it any wonder these tapes are gathering dust? They are artifacts of a meaner time. But we have one final level to descend to, the absolute bottom of the iceberg where the line between cartoon and nightmare doesn't just blur, it vanishes. Level 5, The Void. We have reached Level 5, The Void. This is where we analyze the meaning of the banned concept itself. The scariest banned cartoons aren't the ones with violence or racism. They're the ones that suggest the world of the cartoon is broken. Consider the Invader Zim episode, the most horrible Xmas ever. While not fully banned, it is heavily censored in reruns. It features a Santa suit that effectively takes over the wearer, turning them into a monster and trapping the person inside a rotting shell of holiday cheer. This is body horror, twisting the savior figure into a biological prison. Or consider the lost segments of Ren and Stimpy. Their holiday output was often cut for gross humor that bordered on the obscene, bodily fluids, decay, and the physical breakdown of the characters. These episodes force us to confront a dark truth. The holiday special is a mask. It is a thin layer of sanity placed over a chaotic mess. When the mask slips, whether through a racist design, a robot executioner, or a frozen donkey, we see the true face of the industry. We see the abyss. So we have to ask ourselves, is it better that these episodes remain locked away, or does hiding them only make them more powerful? We have reviewed the evidence and seen the charges: reckless danger, hate speech, and psychological warfare. The verdict is up to you. If you want to stay off the naughty list and avoid a visit from a robot Santa armed with a missile, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and like the video because it's the only legal defense you have left. Until next time, keep your festive cheer compliant.